Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 108 of the Dear Herbalist podcast titled The Biochemistry of Adaptogens, How They Modulate Stress Response. If you are new here, you are most certainly welcome. And if you are a returning listener, thank you so much for your continued support. As always, you guys know I appreciate you. Now, tonight we're going to talk about the biochemistry behind adaptogens. When life gets overwhelming, our bodies have a natural way to cope, and that's thanks to these substances called adaptogens. These plant-based compounds work like a thermostat for stress, helping the body maintain balance during challenging times. Today, we're going to talk about the science of actually how they work, and I'm going to make sure, as always, that I try to break it down in simple terms so that we can all understand everything there is to know about adaptogens. No, I'm just kidding. Specifically the biochemistry and how they work. Let's first talk about understanding stress and the body's response. Now, stress is not just a feeling, it is actually a biological process. When we're faced with a stressful situation, like a deadline or some kind of an argument, then the body activates the fight or flight response. This triggers a cascade of hormones, starting with adrenaline, which will give you the immediate energy to address the situation, followed by cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Now, it's important to understand the difference between short-term stress and chronic stress. What we'll be talking about is how the adaptogens are able to work in both spaces. But obviously, short-term stress is just something that we typically could deal with on a day-to-day basis. And short-term stress can be helpful because it keeps you alert and it keeps you focused. Now, chronic stress is what we don't want, but is what most times people are dealing with. And this leads to persistent high cortisol levels, resulting in fatigue, brain fog, and weakened immunity. And this is where the adaptogens come in. They don't eliminate the stress. Let's just be clear, because I know a lot of marketing out there will tell you, oh, adaptogens will get rid of this and it'll get rid of that. It'll take away your stress. Not really. They don't eliminate stress, but what they do is help the body adapt to it more efficiently. So you want to look at it more like shock absorbers for like bumps and things like that. If you want to look at it from a more pictorial stance. So let's look at how adaptogens work. Now, adaptogens, they actually fine-tune the body's stress response through several key mechanisms. And I know we talked about this last week, but I want to kind of reiterate it for those who didn't listen to the podcast before this to kind of just catch you up on what we've been talking about. So, number one, adaptogens help balance the stress hormone, and the system that is involved with that is the HPA axis, and that is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. This regulates cortisol production. Adaptogens like Ashwagandha we talked about and Rhodiola, they help prevent cortisol from spiking too high or staying elevated. So it helps regulate those hormones. Ashwagandha has been shown to reduce cortisol by up to 30% in chronically stressed individuals. So that is one of the ways that adaptogens work with the HPA axis. They also improve brain-adrenal communication, ensuring that the body doesn't overreact to minor stressors. So let's say it's some short-term deadline at work and you're just like stressed, you're trying to get it done. You know, you don't want your body overreacting in that case. So the adaptogens help the brain adrenal communication during that time to make sure your body doesn't overreact. The other thing that adaptogens do is help boost cellular repair. And this has a lot to do with the body's heat shock proteins. Inside cells, stress can damage the proteins, and these are our building blocks of life. Adaptogens activate the heat shock proteins, which is known as the HSP70, which repair and refold damaged proteins, preventing the cells from actually being able to break down. So your ginsengs, like your Siberian ginseng, they actually increase the HSP70, which improves cellular resilience against stress. Another way that adaptogens work is by calming your stress alarm, and that is your JNK and your FOXO pathways. Now, remember I said before, it's very important when you're talking about herbal formulation to understand those pathways, because the herbs that you are using act on these same pathways. Even if you're taking pharmaceutical drugs, the pharmaceutical drugs have actions that act on these pathways. So if you want to be able to create a formula, all right, and have a high chance of it actually working, then you really want to zero in and understand these particular pathways that we're talking about tonight. And not just these, but all the biochemical pathways that are involved in dis-ease or disorder. In other words, in the areas where the body gets out of balance. So that's very important. So adaptogens look at acting on the J and K and the FOXO pathways. Chronic stress actually activates the JNK1 enzymes, which can push cells into a self-destruct mode. This is the reason why if you have clients with chronic stress, you have to work with them to ensure that they do everything that they can environmentally to try to reduce stress, but also internally so that they are not pushing their cells to self-destruct. Adaptogens work by inhibiting the JNK1, reducing any type of unnecessary cell death. And simultaneously, they activate the FOXO proteins, which turn on genes for DNA repair as well as detoxification. So it's almost like flipping a circuit breaker to restore the power after the storm. That is the beauty of the adaptogens. Another way that they actually act on the body's systems is through energy optimization, and that's through ATP production. Now, I know when people hear the word energy, they're thinking of some kind of mystic or cosmic thought, but at the end of the day, energy is a real thing. Our body uses energy every single day, and stress drains your cellular energy, which is ATP. And this could lead to exhaustion. A lot of physical issues that people are having, it's because they are exhausted and they don't even realize it. Their body is exhausted. They said, look, I have been trying to keep you going and running, and you are high stressed. Everything's going on in your life. I've been doing everything I can on my own to try to balance you out. And the body is just exhausted. And it manifests itself in some other type of dis-ease or disorder. But the bottom line, the root cause is they're exhausted. The body's exhausted. And so if that is the case, then this has to be addressed. I think a lot of times when people do herbal formulation, they just want to dive right into the formulating aspects and say, okay, let's say you got diabetes, so let me go ahead and start to deal with these insulin issues and all of that. But they don't realize that you have to check and make sure that the person has the energy. What is the body's energy levels? If that is exhausted or spent, that is going to directly impact the way the body actually heals and the way the person actually heals and their ability to be able to heal if the body is exhausted. So you want to make sure that you address that, understand what is the body like, what is the current state of the body and the energy that the body is expending. So you want to know that in formulation. Adaptogens like Rhodiola actually enhance ATP production in mitochondria and ensure that the body has enough energy to recover. So this is a very important thing when you're looking at someone's energy levels and understanding where they're at and their ability for the body to have enough energy to heal and repair itself. Adaptogens is definitely something that you want to look at, specifically the ones that we're talking about tonight. There's a lot of studies on ashwagandha, Siberian ginseng, rhodiola. There's a lot of studies out there that have shown that these particular herbs actually work and have actually helped people in these types of situations. So that is not, don't sleep on that, is what I'm trying to say. So the other positive thing, okay, is that it helps the body, ensuring that the body has enough energy to recover. This is very important. And this is why adaptogens fight fatigue without the jittery crash of caffeine. So some people are like, hey, I need a pick me up. I need a boost. You drink the caffeine, drink too much of it. Next thing you know, you're going to have a jittery crash. But adaptogens, they fight fatigue without that. So if you have a client dealing with fatigue, consider adaptogens first. So let's look at a few studies as far as adaptogens in action. Ashwagandha has been shown to address stress and anxiety by reducing them, right? Not the stress in your life, but the stress your body is dealing with. There was a 60-day study where adults taking 240 milligrams of standardized ashwagandha extract daily, they experienced reduced anxiety levels. And they used the Hamilton Anxiety Rating Scale and the Depression Anxiety Stress Scale to determine that there was a significant difference. There was another study that had shown that ashwagandha supplementation can actually lower your serum cortisol levels, which is a key stress hormone. So pretty much doses ranging from 240 milligrams to 600 milligrams per day have been associated with improvements in perceived stress, anxiety, as well as sleep quality. So when you ask, okay, I have a client or I myself would want to consider taking ashwagandha, right, or rhodiola, what type of doses do I need to be looking at? And those are some of the ones that you want to look at, especially for ashwagandha. 240 milligrams to 600 milligrams per day. And definitely when you're calculating dosages, make sure you're taking your weight into consideration as well. All of that matters. Now, there were some studies done on Panax ginseng for cognitive function as well as stress resilience. And it said that it improves feelings of calmness and aspects of working memory performance in healthy young adults. It's also associated with reduced ulcer index, adrenal gland weight, and blood glucose levels in stress-induced conditions. Now, it also said that Panax ginseng affects other stress response systems, such as blocking ACTH action in your adrenal glands. So that is Panax ginseng. Holy basil. Now, any of you guys who have had any type of holy basil, you will love it. I actually have holy basil in my Uplift formulation. Check that out on my website at thedemystifiedherbalist.square.site and get you some Uplift tea, because it is definitely, holy basil is one of those in that tea, which reduces inflammation, balances your blood sugar, and it eases the metabolic toll of stress. And it's also an amazing daily tonic for overall stress resilience. So when you have people that are like, why are you drinking tea every day? Or why are you taking extracts? And why are you doing all this? Why? Because these things work. Studies have shown that they work. And why not use them? Why not? So holy basil is definitely one to add to your list. And if you are an herbalist that wants to consider growing herbs and things like that, then consider growing these. Let's speak from a general perspective on adaptogens. Let's look at adaptogens' effects on stress modulation, meaning how does it coordinate and move things that may be out of balance, or how does it regulate these systems. Now, adaptogens can reduce elevated cortisol levels in stressed individuals while potentially increasing cortisol when it's too low. And this demonstrates their ability to be able to balance out those systems. They also, like I said before, they activate heat shock proteins, which play a huge role in cellular stress protection. They inhibit stress activated CJUN terminal prokinase 1. Say that 50,000 times, but it's the JNK1. And they activate the FOXO proteins, both of which are involved in cellular response. So again, they inhibit the stress activated JNK1. Okay. And if you want to write that down, it's JUN terminal protein kinase 1. So you definitely want to write that down. So we talked about coffee a little bit earlier, and let's talk about why adaptogens are safer than stimulants. Unlike coffee or energy drinks, adaptogens do not overstimulate. Instead, they work to calm you down when you're anxious or to energize you when you feel fatigued. It basically depends on what your body needs. So that is the huge difference, because they can stimulate you if they determine that's what your body needs, or they can help balance you out, right? Or calm you down if you are too anxious. So that is the huge difference. And this is why it makes them safer and more balanced than stimulants, because that's just not their overall role. They want to help find the balance. And I find this with a lot of herbs that are being used. They really know once they get into the body what they need to do, where they need to go, how they need to act. It's just us as herbalists, we need to know, not only what they can do, but how much of them to give to our clients or to ourselves so that we can have that maximum impact. And so as herbalists, we have the privilege of using these plants and giving them to our clients and knowing about them and understanding them and educating people, but we also have to let people know that they don't make stress disappear. But at the end of the day, the beauty of them is that they can strengthen the body's ability to be able to handle it. And that is very important. If you want to consider using adaptogens, you can consider using them in a tea, or you can create a custom tincture for your clients. But however you do it, they can be a game changer for modern life. And if you find that you have a client that is definitely just high stress, they may have a high stress job. At the end of the day, one part of your care plan for them should be taking adaptogens. The other part is really helping them to understand the need to address the stress that's in their life and try to find balance. Because the herbs aren't just the end all be all, but they help us manage. But at the end of the day, it's up to us, or it's up to let our clients know that you have to find a way to manage stress or run from that chronic, heavy, long-term, never seems to have an ending type of stress. And I know even in today's times, it may seem hard, but it has to be done if you want the body to be able to heal itself and to do all the things that it knows to do. But if it's dealing with chronic stress and you have that fight or flight syndrome switch flipped on all the time, it never goes off. Your body is flooding itself with cortisol, because you're constantly stressed. You're constantly tearing your immune system down, killing your cells. All of this stuff plays an impact in the total part of health. And so as herbalists, we have to look at both sides, not just here's the remedy, but also there's some other situational things that you might have to do as well, so you can have the full wellness results and not just, okay, my body can adapt to it. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to take herbs, use them for what they're for. And then if you don't need them, don't use them. But you don't want to, they're not replacements for pharmaceuticals. Some people are like, I'll just take this and I ain't going to take that, or I'll take that, I ain't going to take this. No, they stand on their own and they know exactly what to do once they get into the body. We just need to understand how they work. And when you're formulating as an herbalist, it's important to know on a biochemical level how these herbs work. What are their herbal actions so that you can better formulate for your clients as well. This is very important. And also, again, understanding those biochemical pathways, enzymes involved in the disease mechanism. Look at disease as a process. So if there's an imbalance in the body, what is that imbalance? What is causing that imbalance? Is it a disease of deficiency, meaning there's not enough of something and that's caused the breakdown of other things? Or is it a disease of excess, meaning something is happening too much? Some pathway or system is being triggered too much, overproducing something else. And as a result of that, the body is steady trying to find the balance. But in the meantime, there's some casualties. Okay? So as an herbalist formulating, look at it that way. So in closing, adaptogens are like daily multivitamins for stress. They don't actually block your life's challenges, but they do enhance resilience. They fine-tune your hormonal systems, they repair cells, and they optimize energy. The key is being consistent and using it consistently over time, because these herbs work best when taken regularly. Make sure that you're paying attention to subtle yet profound shifts in resilience and vitality, because that matters. and make sure that your clients are able to understand and document and write down when they're starting to see those shifts and having more vibrancy and vitality. And when you look at them, you look in their eyes, they have bright eyes, they have a little more energy than they had before when they come to your office. These are some of the non-verbal cues that you can look at to see if the herbal remedies that are involving these adaptogens are actually working. And if you see that it's giving them a little spark, but they can go a little further, then you may have to look at changing your dosage. If it's like they're hyper and bouncing off the walls, maybe you lower it a little bit. Maybe the body is like, I got this, Either way, you just want to work with the body. Work with the body because it can do it. And understanding the biochemistry of adaptogens as a formulating herbalist is very, very, very important. So I hope this episode gave you a fresh perspective on these amazing plants and the actions of these plants and how to use them in your herbal business. So if you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my social media sites at The Demystified Herbalist. Like I said before, if you are looking for some herbal products, go over to my website at thedemystifiedherbalist.square.site and get you some herbal products to get you going this spring. Also, there are herbal protocol books, planners, everything that you pretty much need to kind of help you get going as a formulating herbalist and kind of help you along your way. So check those things out on my site as well at my store. Like I told you guys, my website is coming. I'm going to keep saying it because I'm excited for it. I put a lot of information, a lot of time into it to make sure that you guys have what you need to get up and get going. So stay tuned for that. I will let you know when it has been launched officially. And then we'll go from there. I might do a podcast on it. I might do a live. I don't know. Still trying to figure all this stuff out. But at the end of the day, be blessed. And until next time, family, I'm out.